everyone, and thank you so much for coming back and joining me for Retro Fridays this evening. So I have picked a good one this evening. I have picked the classic comedy gold movie Trading Places, and to me this movie never gets old. It is a great Christmas film, but strangely I always wait till after Boxing Day to watch it. I don't know, is that weird? When does everybody else watch it? I know a lot of people watch it, you know, before Christmas, but we had great cast in this movie, you know, great stars. You know, you have Jamie Lee Curtis, amazing. You have Eddie Murphy, and I want to just really quickly, probably won't be quickly because you know me guys, but I am obsessed with Eddie Murphy. I love Beverly Hill Cops, and I'm obsessed with him. I don't know if anybody has, have you seen the movie Imagine That? I think that movie is freaking hilarious. So I am a huge Eddie Murphy fan, but ever since Eddie Murphy played Donkey in Shrek, most movies all I can hear in my head is Donkey, you know, like, and in the morning I'm making waffles. That was a really bad impersonation. It wasn't even meant to be an impersonation, but I love this film and it is absolutely hilarious, and to me it's still as funny now as what it always is when I watch it on DVD basically. And you can all let me know down below if you have seen this movie and if you love watching it around, you know, the Christmas period as well. So it's basically about two brothers, Randolph and Mortimer, who basically are very rich, and out of boredom really they make a bet, and the funniest thing about it is it's a bet for $1, basically placed on their employee played by Dan Aykroyd, and his name in the movie is Louis, of course. Now I do have my notes so that I don't forget anything that I want to say. And Dan Aykroyd is fantastic in this movie as well. You know, this movie just across the board has a great cast, like most, you know, 80s movies, and I always pick good ones. I am just going to be honest, I always pick old goodies for you. And the bet was basically that somebody could do the job better than Louis could. So although it was, you know, a $1 bet, at the same time they were looking for pretty much a fall guy, because of course what they were doing, you know, for the company was corrupt, you know, what they were doing, and they knew that. So Billy Ray, or as you want to call him, played by Eddie Murphy, Billy Ray Valentine. I even still in my head, just still hear Donkey from Shrek. So he pretty much lived on the street, and Louis passes him. And he then, of course, thought that he was stealing his briefcase, which, of course, we knew that, you know, he wasn't. And then he, like, runs after him, and then he gets him arrested. So then the two brothers, you know, see him and know that he's pretty much, you know, he lives on the street. He's probably kind of, you know, he doesn't seem to come across as very well, you know, educated or smart, in their eyes anyhow. So they're like, okay, here's our fall guy. Here's our fall guy. So then, obviously, Eddie Murphy goes to jail, gets arrested, but then the two brothers release him on bail, basically. But what they do is to set up Louis. What they do is they, within the company, they have it all set up, and they're like, okay, there's a thief among us, pretty much. All stand up and put your hand in the pocket beside you, and then place whatever you find on the desk. So, of course, you know, it was I think it was like a $50 note or whatever, and if it had a red X on it, then they knew who the thief among them was, you know, sort of thing. But of course they had pinned and framed Louis, so he was then obviously arrested. And the cops, of course, were in on it. They knew about the whole entire shebang, and they were in on it quite clearly. And of course then in one of his other coat pockets, drugs were pretty much put in the other pocket, to completely just frame the guy and just muck things up, so that then they could have Billy Ray Valentine taking over his life, basically, you know, for the whole, you know, bet that's going on. And if you imagine it, you know, going from, you know, like Billy was living on the street to being literally handed everything, you know, like a complete new life, but such a chauffeur life like his, you know, something where you're just told, okay, everything here is yours, this whole place is yours, that sofa's yours, all this drink's yours, You know, we can take you around in the car whenever you want. We can take you to bars whenever you want. You know, like imagine. And he even had a jacuzzi and everything. And of course, you know, Billy is absolutely loving his whole, you know, new fancy life and everything that's just been quite literally just handed to him, quite literally. And I mean, he even goes into a bar and brings back a whole ton of women. And I just want to say, it's the most cheesiest way for the scene to have occurred. They're all dancing and everything, and that's what you want to do. And then this lady just randomly just like, you know, gets her teddy bojangles out, you know, her boobies. And, you know, it's just such really cheesy random moment. I always think that part's just so freaking well hilarious and just outright random. But yeah, it's like, what the friggity frig? So whenever Louis gets out of jail, obviously, you know, he is like, what is going on? This is like crazy. And if, you know, his little, you know, posh, you know, you can tell daddy gives me everything type girlfriend, a daddy's girl that gets handed everything. We all know those type. Literally doesn't want to have anything to do with him and pretty much thinks, you know, you're at fault for everything. I don't want to know you. You smell. Look at the state of you. All this here nonsense. When, like, the guy has just been through all this, like, over literally, he didn't do anything. So then Jamie Lee Curtis, that's when she comes in. And I think she is such a strong, fantastic character in this. And, like, she's really funny in it as well. Like, you can tell, you know, she has a great comedic presence as well. And she's a great actress. And I think they are so sweet together. Her and Louis in this, honestly, her and Dan Aykroyd together were really, really cool. And as well, she was so sweet to him. And of course, her character is a prostitute who, you know, lives on her own, and, you know, like, she's a prostitute to pretty much save up. And I think she'd said something like she'd saved up like $40,000 or $50,000 or something like that. So she wouldn't have to be, you know, a prostitute after like a couple of years or something like that. And what is interesting is, you know, she goes and gets into like her taxi and he gets on his knees and begs for her to like believe him, like to help. You know, you can tell he's like crying for help. He's in desperation. And what I find really cool about that is the way they done it for this movie was, obviously, you know, Eddie Murphy was in that position at the start of the film, you know, on his knees and everything, you know, acting the idiot. And then he was just in a desperation where he was just so desperate and clueless as to like, what is going on? And then he just gets on his knees. So I think, like, obviously they swapped them, the two brothers sort of swapped their lives, but at the same time he was then ended up being on his knees just like Eddie Murphy was at the beginning of the film. And I really, really liked that they went to the bother of putting, I really appreciate wee little things like that within movies, like I've, you know, said before, like wee little things like that I, you know, really appreciate. But then Billy eventually, he realizes, and what's so sweet, sorry, before I actually carry on, was that Ophelia, I didn't even mention her name for goodness sake, obviously it's Jamie Lee Curtis, but her character name is Ophelia, and she literally just doesn't, she takes off, you know, the night off work, Christmas Eve, she says, I'm not working tonight, I'm going to spend it with you. And I thought it was so sweet, like you could tell that, you know, straight away she was, you know, falling in love with him. And I think that's a really nice story that they actually met each other out of that, you know. So I thought that was really cool. And then of course Billy Ray Valentine, he finds out, Shrek. Oh, that's right, he finds out. So he finds out that obviously the two brothers are talking in the toilets, and he has like a cigarette, and it's so funny, and like he puts it in his mouth and he's like, oh, because he doesn't want them to know that he's in the toilets listening. And he, you know, hears them saying, you know, this has all been over this bet and everything, and oh, we're not going to have him carrying on working for the company, Billy, because, you know, he's like silly, what would he know? So then Louis, basically, he just completely loses it. He goes to like his company's party and everything, dressed up like freaking well Santa Claus, and is going around and stealing, you know, like raw fish and like putting it in his coat and everything, because he literally can't afford it. He's literally been left with no money. His life has been completely stolen from him, and he has nothing. And although, you know, Ophelia was trying to help him out, you would still be just, it would absolutely drive you mad. I have no idea how that would feel if someone actually just like came in, took my house, and I was out the street. You know, you don't actually know how that would make you feel. You know, and then he actually went and seen him, you know, when at the party do, and he was like, oh, Louis, and he called him, and then he followed him home, or not home, but to Ophelia's place, and sort of, you know, said, I need to talk to him, and he had actually tried to kill himself. That's how bad this had led him down that road. He tried to commit suicide, and then, you know, he was okay, the doctors came and everything, and then he explained to him, look, this was all over a $1 bet. Took me on for a fill, they've took you on for a fill, they've done this to the both of us, and I actually didn't know till now. But you see, whenever he asks, well, how much was the bet for? If I had been Billy, honestly, in a real life situation, I wouldn't have said for $1, because you'd go, that'll really annoy them. I always say to myself when I'm watching the movie, I would have just said like $500,000 or $800,000 or $1 million or something like that, so that like it wouldn't drive them any more insane than what it already did. But also what I love about this movie is the fact that even though, you know, it showed you him, you know, Louis trying to, you know, commit suicide and end his life, like jobs like, you know, like stockbrokers and things like that, anybody with a history in stockbroking and things like that, I'm sure, you know, some of them have literally been through it, because you have to remember that is their livelihood, but at any point they could lose their job. So I like that maybe, you know, this is a story that could be, you know, show realism for some who have actually been through that kind of work, and I actually really like that. It kind of shows the reality of that position, if you have that position, you know, for a job. But there's so many funny moments in this movie. I'm sure you will all agree. Of course, you know, mainly Eddie Murphy. I thought, although Jamie Lee Curtis was good and Dan Aykroyd was good, I think the funniest person in this whole entire movie was, you know, Donkey, Eddie Murphy. And I think it's absolutely hilarious when, you know, they all are then trying to help each other, you know, get back at them and get their freaking well comeuppance worth. And they all dress up and everything to, you know, as a cover up. And like Jamie Lee Curtis was like, hi, I'm from Sweden. You would like to help me with my rucksack? Yeah, you want to help, you know, the Swedish girl or something like that. I can't really remember, but I just think it's absolutely hilarious. And other funny parts that I absolutely love, right, when the brothers lost their jobs at the end, because obviously they beat them at their own game, and then they were like, oh, we did this for $1 bet. Like, it's just like absolutely hilarious. Talk about karma, and karma always comes back to get people. So yes, always remember, karma comes back to get you. Now, they lost their jobs, and then Randy was like in pain. You could see him, like, brother was like, oh, and all this here, you know, from the pain of it all, right? And then more, one of them were like, oh yeah, we're gonna have to get him to a doctor or something like that. And he goes, F him. You're like, I'm not gonna say the F-U-C-K. He's like, F him. He doesn't even care that his brother could literally be dying or like taking a heart attack or something. But it's funny at the same time, because it's just like, so the good way he says it, and then it's just absolutely hilarious. And other funny parts would be the jail cell scene when one of the guys are like, oh, if you're so tough or whatever, like, where's all your bruises and everything? And then Eddie Murphy says, I'm a karate man. I wear my bruises on the inside. It's like something like along those lines. It's absolutely hilarious. And then also when he's in the jacuzzi bath, right? I know it's going to sound weird, right? But when he's in the jacuzzi bath, he is like talking away and then starts singing. But I don't know why, but in that specific scene, like the most, it reminds me of Donkey, because it just reminds me of like he's walking along with Shrek and he's like, you know, on your tablets, you know, like that. And then the next minute he just starts singing like randomly to Shrek. And I don't know why, but that jacuzzi thing, it's just so weird, because like he's sitting in a jacuzzi, but at the same time I'm thinking like that just sounds like Donkey from Shrek. Oh my gosh. But yeah. And then also the cop, when he said to Louis, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he said something like, take your clothes off, or you need to strip, or I'll tear you a new asshole. That is freaking hilarious. And honestly, I'm all about random cheesy humour, and this movie literally has that. Now I know it's like, it's a very sort of dark comedy, Christmas film. You know, it's not a Christmas film in the sense that, oh, it's all happy-go-lucky and, you know, like Jingle Bell Rock, and, you know, all these here lovely magical Christmas songs with Christmas moments. It's not like that. You know, it's obviously a very dark story, and it's a very dark humor, or like dark comedy is what I'm basically trying to say. But at the same time, like, it's just so random sometimes, and it's just so funny. I absolutely love it. So let me know what your favourite moments are. Another one that I wanted to mention was when he first got into the taxi and met the two brothers, Randolph and Mortimer, and then he's you know, like, introducing himself, and he goes, I'm Randy, and he's like, it's Randy as in from the Jackson 5, right? This is so funny. So honestly, you can let me know what other movies as well that you like by Eddie Murphy. I am a massive Eddie Murphy fan, by the way. I have like all of his DVDs downstairs. So there's another film he's in as well. It's brilliant, called Metro. Has anyone seen Metro? I'm kind of like going off on a tangent here. But yeah, I love doing these videos, and please let me know what you thought of tonight's Retro Friday. I hope that you liked my pick. And yeah, basically these aren't like movie reviews as in, okay, this was released at this date, this was did it, and this scene and that scene, and I'm going to give it a mark out of 10. This is more like, I want people to feel like it's a very sort of casual series where I come on and I just literally just talk about a movie that's an old classic, as in a retro movie. So I really hope that you liked my Retro Fridays for this evening. Please let me know, and I hope to speak to you all soon. Thank you so much for watching, and until my next video, don't forget that the Force will be with you always. Thank you so much for all the support. Bye guys.